Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Apaulo Adeyeri and let's discuss Python dictionaries. Now, a Python dictionary is a built-in data type and it enables us to store data in a collection of key and value pairs. Now, in simple terms, the whole system of a dictionary is just enabling you to store data, having a key and a value. You can visualize this in some instance of a key and then a locker. So the locker is the value when you then use the key to access it, right? So it's the same with the dictionary. We have a collection of keys and pairs. So the pairs are the values, then use the keys to access the values. So let's go ahead and see how to use dictionaries in Python. Now to initialize an empty dictionary, you use the curly braces. So I can say my dict, which is a variable, equals an empty dictionary. So now this is an empty dictionary. But now if you're trying to like add data into the dictionary, by default, you can do something like this. We have the keys, let's say name, and then we can have the value, which can be null. So now when I print this, let me go ahead and run my code, and then now we have my the dictionary is printed, name equals null. So that works fine. But now what if I have like a few um values, or I just want to get a single value from a dictionary? Now using that, I should use the square bracket and then the key to get the value, right? So since it's like a key to a locker, so we use the key to get the value. So now I can say name, and this should print the name, which is null for me. So let's go ahead and see if that works. Now we have null as a response, so that works fine. So now just before we continue to dive deep into usage of dictionaries, we should learn a few. Like I can say rules. Now to store to make a key of a dictionary, you can only use immutable data types, which means data types that cannot be changed, like tuples, numbers, or strings. But now you cannot use like another dictionary for a key. That would be wrong. So now we can do things like this. We are allowed to do things like this. We can say we have let me add one more entry. I can say 5 and then 5. So now when I print my dict, I can use 5 in here, and that would still work fine because it's print 5. So this enables us to like, we can use like numbers as the keys, and numbers can also be the values, but you can also use strings, characters, and tuples for the keys. Other than that, it's going to be an error. So I can do something like this, and then you can see we'll be having an error when we try to run our code. So now when I run my code, you can see we have an issue on hashable type list. So this is because we cannot use this data type list, which is a list data type, as a key in a dictionary. That's just wrong. But then we can use things like tuples. Let me do something like this. So now when I run this, it still works fine. So now if I try to get the value that's null, I would just do something like this. Now that 1, 2, and that would also get me null, because the set is immutable, which means it cannot be edited. The tuple is immutable, which means it cannot be edited. So we can use that for a key in the dictionary. So now a few more things. Let me add a few more values, but it's not something that is popular. People don't use it a lot. So let me go ahead and create a new dictionary. Let's say user equals John, age 30, email John. Now let me add just this first name, and then John, last name, null. So now when I print my dictionary, but just before we do that, let me go ahead and run my code and see what happens in this case. As you can see, we have an error already. But now you can see here we are seeing the name error. My dict is not defined because we are trying to get a variable that is not existent. But when I change this to dict, we'll still have an error. So let me go ahead and run this. You can see we have dict 1, 2. That's not what we want really, but it's still getting us. Oh, I use dict actually, not user. Let me change it to user and then see what happens. Now we can see we have the error indeed. So we have the error that is saying key error, the tuple of 1 2, because this key is not existent in our dictionary. It's like trying to it's like you have a key, but then the locker is not existent. Then you would just be trying a bunch of lockers and then to be rejecting your key because it's not existent. So now that's why we're having an error, which is the key error in this case. So now that leads us to one method of getting values from a dictionary. We can use the dot get method. So the dot get method enables us to like try to fetch values, but would not return an error if it's not there. Instead, we'll be returning the null value. So let's go ahead and see how that works. So let me change this to user dot get. Now I can see dot get first name and see what happens. Let me go ahead and print this. So we can see dot get first name indeed gets me the first name of John, which is the user. But let's try to get something that is not existent, like name. So let's see what happens. The other time we got an error when we tried to use the square brackets, but now this one is returning none. So it didn't just break out an error for us, it just printed none. So that's the way the dot get was designed. It tries to get the value, but then if it cannot get the value, it now returns none. But what if we don't want this none to show? Like if we are trying to let's say we're trying to print some values, but we don't want none to be existent in our code. Like by default when you're writing code, you don't want none to be like outputted. It's just wrong. So you should be able to provide some default values for just in case things are not existent. So let's go ahead and do something about this. Let's say we're trying to get the phone number for John. Yes. So now let's see what happens this time. Now you can see we have not found instead of none. As you can see, we don't have the value for the key phone instead of our dictionary. But instead of printing none, it's printed not found. So this is like another parameter you can pass into your method, which is the dot get method. It takes in an optional argument because it's not required for you to put it there. It works fine without it. But when you put it there, it's instead of just printing none or returning none, it returns this value when it cannot find this key. So it tries to find this key. Then if it's not there, it now returns this value instead. So this can be whatever you want. It can be n a to return this instead. So that works fine. So this is used when you don't want to show null values or non-values in your code. So let's go ahead and do something quite fun with this. So you can also set, you can add more values to a dictionary, you can remove values in fact. So let's go ahead and see how that works. So let me see if I want to add a value. So let's say user square bracket phone, nope, equals yes. So now when I run my code again, we indeed get the phone number because now we've added, this is just equal to like doing something like this, phone. So writing this line is the exact same thing we're doing something like this in our code, because this enables us to add a value into our dictionary. But let me remove this just for now. So let me just print the entire dictionary right here, print user. So now here you'd see that we got the phone value added to our dictionary using this syntax. So that works fine. Let me go ahead and remove this now. But also we can remove like an entire key and value using the delete keyword. So let me go ahead and run delete user of age. Now when I print my dictionary again, or let me just do this instead. Let me print dot get age and not found. So now this should work. It's not found because the age was deleted. But just before that, let me go ahead and do exact same thing. So you can see that the age would show before, but after the delete it would not, because it has been removed from our dictionary. So now you can see here age returns 30, but right after we removed it, it's not found because it's no longer in our dictionary. So these are one of the cool things you could do with dictionaries in Python. Now you could also loop through a dictionary. Let's say you can try to get some values. You can choose to get all of the keys in a list. You can choose to get all of the values and all of the items also. So let's see how that works. Let me go ahead and remove this. So if you're trying to get like all of the keys of a dictionary, you can just do print. Let me go ahead and print user dot keys. Now this would return this dot keys is a method, right, of the dictionary that returns all of the keys in the dictionary. So let's go ahead and see what happens this time when we run our code. Yeah, keys. I got that wrong. Now you can see we have these dict keys, and then we have a list of all of the keys. Now you can look through this list, right? So you can do something like this for I in user dot keys. I can choose to use this method to get all of the values. So I can say print. Let me use an f string. Now this should print the keys and value pairs for every single one of the values inside of the dictionary. So let me go ahead and print. Now you can see we have first name equals John, last name equals Nolan, and all of the values really. So now we're able to do this because we looped through the keys and then use the keys to get the values in the dictionary. So let's go ahead and get the values instead. So let me go ahead and print user dot values. Now when I run this, we have all of the values in a list, but we could also get the keys and the values simultaneously. That's actually quite fun. So let's go ahead and print user dot items. So this is usually used in loops because it enables us to like loop through all of the values of the keys without actually of the dictionary without actually knowing what the key is or what the value is, without expecting any default values. So let's go ahead and run this. You can see now we have dict items. It's a list, but it's having the key and the values in tuples. So a single tuple for a single key and a single value, and then that's for everything, every single one of the keys and values. So we can loop through this entire items. So we can say for I or for key and value in user dot items print f string key and value. So now when I run this, we should have the same response as before, but this time we didn't use just the values. We got the keys and the values by default in the list. So that's because we are having the list that contains tuples. Now the tuples are now being stored in the value. So the key goes into the first index of the tuple, then the second will be the value. So we're having like this response from user.items, like something like this. So we have the tuple. No, that's not what I want. So we have the tuple, let's say first name, email, John, Nolan, at example. So now this is simply the response of the dot items method, right? So now when we are looping through this, it's passing this single value, like passing the tuples one at a time to the keys and the value. So this becomes the key, the first name, then this John becomes the value. So now for each iteration, we are looping over like one tuple at a time. So now the key will be the first value, then the value will be the second value. So now we can loop through each and every one of the tuples using this method. So that's how it works. Let me go ahead and remove that. And now we can also have nested dictionaries. Nested dictionaries are dictionaries that contain other dictionaries. Like we have a dictionary within another dictionary. So that works. Let me go ahead and explain how that works. So let's have the address. But instead of having a single string as the address, we want a dictionary as the address. So now we can have state, city, street, and then zip number. Okay, so let's see how that works. So now when I run this same code again, you can see now in the place of address, we have the street. It's an entire dictionary. So we have the street and then the city and all of those things. But now, how do we access the contents of a nested dictionary? By default, we can say user print user.get address. But then we can also, this just gets us the sorry, no, this just gets us the dictionary, right? But then we're trying to get the dictionary within another dictionary, so we can do something like this. We're trying to get the key of street, so we can say dot get again, dot get, and then we can say city. So this will get us the city within the address field. So let's go ahead and run the code again and see what happens this time. Now you can see we have Springfield, which is the city. But now, how do we get this same response using the square brackets? So we can do something like this. We can say print user, then the square bracket of, let's say, address, and then square bracket of city. So these get us the same response. As you can see, we also get Springfield. But the only safety there is because this one would not return none if it's not existent. It will just raise an error that will break our code, and we don't want that. So that's why we prefer to use the dot get instead. So that's everything to know about Python dictionaries. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel for more. Goodbye, everyone.